Hey, what's good? What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Your boy is back with another episode of Dre's State of Mind. Now, while ESPN is getting into this Ime Udoka situation and all that, and ignoring the Brett Farve situation, they're also ignoring a big situation at Arizona State with Herm Edwards. I wanted to touch on this for a little bit. Now, Herm Edwards was named the coach of Arizona State in 2017. And on September 18th of 2022, following the 30-21 loss to Eastern Michigan, it was announced that Arizona State made the decision to let Edwards go. Now, what was alarming to me is the surrounding details of his departure from, the Sun Devils. They're starting to come to light. So, the Athletics' Doug Holler took a deep dive into Herm Edwards' term in Tempe, Arizona, and how things crumbled. Now, despite not having a losing season, never had a losing season at all, Edwards entered the 2022 campaign strongly under fire. Now, according to Holler, athletic department staff members purposely leaked information with the hopes and intentions of getting this man fired. Like, that's wild. So I'm just like, what would possess you to do this? Like, do you not like this man that much? Like, do you have to take that much of a coward's way to try to get this man fired? Like, that's just wild. Because everybody knows what you're getting when you hire Herm Edwards as a coach. My man is straightforward. He don't play no games. He's very old school. He's an old school cat. If people don't really realize who Herm Edwards was, he used to play for the Eagles back in the day. He was a defensive back. He's actually the guy who scooped and scored on the Miracle in the Meadowlands when the Eagles miraculously beat the Giants. When the Giants had, for whatever reason, instead of kneeling the clock out, they decided to run one more running play. The quarterback and the running back exchange produced a fumble. Herm Edwards scooped and scored, and the Eagles won the game. So that's why they call it the Miracle in the Meadowlands. That's part one. Part two was Deshaun Jackson, but we can get into that in another episode or something like that. So, getting back into this, now it says an opposing coach recently told the Athletic that it wasn't hard to get intel on this season's team because some within Arizona State's athletics wanted a coaching change. Now, unfortunately, it's an unfavorable look for all parties involved. Holler also noted that Edwards didn't make an effort to get familiar with the bylaws of the NCAA and made staff members of the department feel like he needed to constantly, not that they needed to be constantly looked after. Now, as of September 18th, Arizona State and Edwards officially, quote unquote, parted ways. Now, this was less than a day after the Sun Devils were defeated by Eastern Michigan, like I said, 30-21 at home. Now, it looked like Herm Edwards was actually terminated. He was let go on the football field. Like, he didn't even get a chance to walk off the football field because his boss and his boss's boss were waiting for him in the end zone, and they had a little discussion or whatever, and it looked like they were like, yo, we're letting you go. But in the press, to save face or whatever, they are saying that, it was they parted ways, which in all honesty, he probably got fired. So my thing is, does he still get I'm pretty sure he still gets the remaining money that's left on his contract. If not, I would sue the shit out of Arizona State because that's bullshit. Never had a losing season, but they wanted to fire this man anyway. So, for more than a year, the NCAA has investigated recruiting allegations within the football program. Edwards and his staff are accused of hosting recruits during the non-contact period in place because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Edwards has lost 5 assistants during the probe, including coordinator Antonio Pierce and offensive coordinator Zach Hill. With the uncertainty swirling around the program, recruiting has suffered significantly. Former staff also stated that Edwards may not have been aware of every detail, but is in the know of Arizona State operating outside the rule book. Now, as a head coach, his final record was 26-20 as Arizona State's head coach. Now, I guess coming from the pros or whatever, I mean, you still want to get yourself familiar with the recruiting violations because, that is pretty much, that's a major thing when you're in college. So, but it says in another article, Arizona State scrambles to retain recruits after Herm Edwards' departure before NCAA penalties. Now, says Arizona State was humiliated in the eyes of the nation because it was not only dragged into a scandal, but because also it didn't even get anything for its wayward activity. So I guess they were violating recruiting and all that, but still weren't able to land any top recruits or anything like that. So it says now that Herm Edwards is gone, the program is trying to move forward with this season under interim head coach Sean Aguano, I believe that's his name. The Sun Devils are conducting a coaching search, which apparently will continue under current athletic director Ray Anderson, who has not been fired by school president Michael Crow. It's a complicated, tangled situation in Tempe, primarily because the NCAA has not handed down punishments. How will Arizona State move forward? Now, says R.L. Miller, who is a three-star linebacker from Sacred Heart Prep in San Francisco, said he's hoping Arizona State hires from within the program. If that's the case, he'll stick to his commitment. Another commit, three-star quarterback Israel Carter from Corona, California, says he remains loyal and isn't planning to leave at all. Three-star linebacker. I don't even know how to pronounce my man's name. Zeri is XE apostrophe REE. Alexander from Buren, Washington, says he'll remain committed, but does have some questions about position coach Chris Claiborne, and says and whether or not he'll be retained. So I guess if Chris Claiborne is not retained, he might pull out of his commitment. So there are some questions about some commitments that are coming in. Arizona State only has 6 commitments in the class of 2023, and none of them are from the state of Arizona, which has been the problem for both the Wildcats and Arizona State as well. So, from what I heard, high school football is pretty big in Arizona, and if you can't get any recruits, any pipeline recruits, any in-state recruits, then pretty much your program is going to suffer. It's going to suffer, and so that's what's going on with Arizona State. It's like a big problem out there in the desert right now, and like I said, I don't know if he rubbed his staff the wrong way or if they were just bitch-ass niggas and didn't want to confront coach or whatever and just try to get him fired behind his back, which they did by, just committing violations on recruiting trips or just in the recruiting period, and just leaking intel to the opposing coach or the opposing team, which is wild. Like, just giving up the game plan and everything like that. Like, that's something that's unheard of that I heard. I never heard of in my years of watching football, whether it be on the collegiate or the NFL level or even high school. Like, somebody might lose like a playbook or something like that, and then the opposing team picks it up, and I've heard of that. But as far as like the team actually giving the opposing team their game plan and their information, that shit is crazy. Like, that's wild. Like, I've never heard of that. Like, just intentionally giving up the game plan to get your coach fired. Like, that's crazy. So they're pretty much doing Herm Edwards. Well, they did him dirty out in Arizona. Ain't no doing. They did him dirty because they let him go. So I don't know if he's going to bounce back at ESPN and be an analyst, or if he's going to chill. If he wants another college gig, which I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't. We'll see what happens, man. But I like Coach Edwards because he's a personality. He's a personality, but like I said, he's going to give it to you straight, and he ain't going to sugarcoat shit. So that's why I like Herm Edwards, man. It's a funny-ass dude. But see what happens in the future, in the near future, because they only got 6 recruits, and Arizona State has been asked for a while. They've been asked since, like, Pat Tillman left. And that's crazy. That's like in the late 90s, dog. But just going to keep monitoring the situation and just see what happens. So just wanted to report on that. And since ESPN wasn't talking about it, and just going to get into this Brett Farve shit, man. All right. So getting into the aforementioned Brett Farve scandal, I'm going to get into it. So according to CBS Sports, the Brett Favre scandal explained that ex-NFL quarterback is accused of misusing Mississippi State welfare funds. So, Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre is in hot water for his connection in the Mississippi welfare scandal involving the misappropriation of roughly $77 million. Now, Favre, who has not been criminally charged, has denied knowing the money he received for different projects was welfare money, but court filings and text messages have shed new light on the situation. So he's trying to play dumb, but the dumb thing is why would you? I mean, like the cockiness of these motherfuckers to think like, all right, we're gonna send text messages back and forth and we're not gonna get caught, dog. Like you get caught all the time sending text messages or phone taps, wiretaps, or whatever. They can just pull your text messages up. all the cops have to do, or the federal agents have to do, is just go to your service provider and just be like, "Yo, we need text messages from this time frame to this time frame." They have no choice but to give up the text messages. So it's just fucking stupid. But anyway, so the scandal is Mississippi's largest ever public corruption case. It involves money from the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, which is TANF. I never knew what TANF stood for. But for the TANF program, a federal program that provides grant funds to states and territories to help families in need. Now, according to the benefits.gov website, the state-administered programs may include child care assistance, job preparation, and work assistance. Now, on September 22nd, former executive director of Mississippi Department of Human Services, John Davis, pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy and 1 count of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds. The Department of Justice said Davis worked with 4 unnamed co-conspirators. Davis will be sentenced February 2nd, 2023. Now, MDHS provided federal funds to 2 nonprofit organizations and then directed the 2 nonprofit organizations to fraudulently award contracts to various entities and individuals for social services that were never provided. Now, because I did hear, like, before all this came to head, I think it was like earlier this year, or it was like Brett Favre was getting like money for public speaking events that he never went to. So I didn't pay attention to it then, but now like the shit makes absolutely perfect sense. So the two nonprofits were the Mississippi Community Education Center, the MCEC, and the Family Resource Center, FRC, as stated by press release by State Auditor Shad White's office from October 2021. The two organizations ran a statewide program called Families First in Mississippi. In the end of 2021, Favre began to ask then Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant for funding for a new volleyball facility at the University of Southern Mississippi, his alma mater and the same school at which his daughter played volleyball. Now, text messages from August 3rd, 2017 show Favre asking the MCEC founder Nancy New, her last name is really New. Anyway, Nancy knew about privacy regarding payments to him. Now he says, if you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? He asked. She reassured him that the information would not be made public. The next day, she told him that Bryant was on board with their plan. New and her son Zach pleaded guilty to 13 counts relating to the scandal earlier in 2022. Now, from what I've seen in the reports, Nancy New is taking like the brunt of this shit. Like she's taking the brunt, like they said, like 13 felony counts. So I don't know, like how much, like how many I guess like the prison terms are for these, each of these 13 felonies. Since it's like white collar crime, I don't know if it's like a slap on the wrist or something. If she's going to do like 10, I don't know, but pretty much like she's taking the brunt of this shit. So like she's like the fall guy or the scapegoat, for lesser I forgot what I was about to say. But anyway, so according to an audit, Favre was paid $500,000 in December 2017 and $600,000 in June 2018 for appearances and speeches at multiple events that he did not attend. Favre said he filmed commercials for the nonprofit organization, and that's why he was given the money. The auditor later revealed that Favre's contract stated that he needed to give speeches and a radio advertisement. Now, Favre gave back the initial payments, but reportedly still owes $228,000 in interest. Of course, the money was returned because I knew I would never knowingly take funds meant to help our neighbor. Let's go. Rewind. Of course, the money was returned because I would never knowingly take funds that's meant to help our neighbors in need. But for Shad White to continue to push out this lie that the money was for no-show events is something I cannot stay silent about. He tweeted on August 29th of 2021. Now, he's been denying this shit for like a year or so. The $5 million volleyball stadium was not the only project Favre was interested in. In July 2019, Favre would also appeared to want money for a new football stadium at Southern Miss. I mean, like, why can't you just work with the school? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're worth $130-something million, my guy. Like, I'm pretty sure you could find a way legally to get this money. But, you got friends in low places that's like, hey, let's go ahead and scam, these people who actually really need this money. But Favre also, in July 2019, Favre also appeared to want money for a new football stadium at Southern Miss to help recruit quarterback Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, by luring him with an indoor football facility. As I suspected, Deion's son asked where the indoor facility was, and I said, we don't have one, but we are hoping to break ground in less than 2 years, Favre texted Bryant per ESPN. Now that what happened without your help or commitment, I know we have a volleyball. I know we have the V-ball. Well, yeah, the V-ball, which is in volleyball, to complete first. I'm asking a lot with that, and I believe 100% that if this can get done, Nancy will reach and help many in the recruiting war. And in parentheses says a new indoor practice facility will give USM's football program instant credibility, and USM football will become relevant again. ESPN reported that Billy Quinn, a lawyer representing Bryant, said a court filing shows that Favre continued to press for state funds, first from DHS and later in legislative appropriation. Now, in July 28th, 2019, Bryant texted Favre that the use of the funds were tightly controlled and that any improper use could result in violation of federal law. Auditors are currently reviewing the use of these funds, in quotations. Now, just over a month later, on September 4th, 2019, text messages show Favre putting more pressure on Bryant. We are not taking no for an answer, with an exclamation point. You are Southern Miss alumni. Folks need to know that you are a supporter of the university, Favre wrote. So Favre talking all this bullshit that he don't know. He don't know, like, you know what I'm saying, like, that they were using inappropriate funds, like, to fund this shit. Like, yo, you're lying, man. You're obviously lying. You want some bullshit. But he says, in quotations, we are going to get there. This was a great meeting, but we have to follow the law. I am too old for federal prison, Bryant replied, adding an emoji wearing sunglasses. And so he just thought like he wasn't going to get caught. In April 2022, Mississippi Today reported that Favre briefed Bryant on Precavis. I'm assuming it's all right. So it's a pharmaceutical company in which Favre was a top investor in. Per report, the company received $2.15 million from the scheme. Now, some of the text messages obtained by Mississippi Today showed that Precavis founder Jake, god damn this nigga last name long as shit, Van Landingham, and Favre offered Bryant shares of the company. White ended up naming Bryant as the whistleblower that led to the high-profile arrest and the welfare scandal. Now, like he said, he's too old to go to prison, so I guess he figured if my shit hit the fan, my man start ratting, he ain't gonna see prison time. So we'll see what happens, because he's supposed to be sentenced in 2023. So we'll see what happens. Now, the Mississippi Department of Human Services filed a lawsuit in May 2022 against Favre. The three former pro wrestlers and multiple other people and businesses in an attempt to recover millions in welfare dollars. According to the lawsuit, Ted DiBiase Sr., goddamn, not the $1 Million Man, got the $1 Million Man? Shit! A former wrestler known as the $1 Million Man ran Heart of David Ministries, Inc., and received $1.7 million in welfare grant money in 2017 and 2018 for mentorship, marketing, and other services. One of his sons, Brett DiBiase, pleaded guilty to his role in the scandal in December 2020. Recently, two of Favre's weekly shows on ESPN Milwaukee and Sirius XM were suspended due to his involvement in the scheme, which dates back to 2017. So, it looks like the walls are closing in on Brett Farve. So, I don't know if he's going to receive any prison time or anything like that, or as this story progresses, or as the government, closes in. We'll see what happens if, he cooperates and rolls on anybody else. But it looks like the people who already were involved might have already rolled on him. So I don't know who else he can give up, unless he knows anybody else in the scheme, any other high profile or just anybody else in the scheme, if he could roll on anybody else. But hey, man, you reap what you sow. I don't feel sorry for Brett Farve. Like, this dude, he has proved to be a dickhead from way back in the day. It's like, what was it, 2010? He was out here sending pictures of his dick, unwanted pictures of his dick, to a New York Jets staff member, female staff member. So pretty much, he's proven that he's pretty much been a dickhead. Like, he's been addicted to painkillers, which I can understand that because my man was like fucking NFL's like Iron Man and shit. Like he never missed a game. My man was like often painkillers and stuff like that. But he has proved that he hasn't been a honorable guy. So yeah, back in 2008, so it was Jennifer Sturger, 2008. Sturger was the game day host for the New York Jets, where Favre was playing. Well, Favre was quarterback. After he had fake retired from Green Bay, then he came back, and then they traded him to the Jets or whatever. So Sturger reportedly received inappropriate messages and images from Favre during the course of the season. So my man he just kept sending her pictures of his dick through the course of the season, like from. I don't know if it was like from training camp to like the end of the season. That's a long ass period of time. That's like training camp starts in like August. So let's say like he was sending her pictures of his dick from August, and the season usually wraps up in like February. So from August to February, he was sending her pictures, unwanted pictures of his dick while he was married. Yeah, while he's still married, I believe. So let's see. Sturger reported inappropriate messages and images from Favre during the course of the season. The NFL opened up an investigation into the incident in 2010. A whole fucking 2 years after this nigga was sending her pictures of his dick. Yeah, the NFL is like slow as fuck, and they don't give a shit. Like if females are violated, like the NFL don't give a fuck. Like the only time they really gave a fuck is when Ray Rice knocked his then fiance out, who is now his wife, which is still wild. Like he knocked her clean the fuck out, like, and then dragged her out of they dragged her out of the elevator. She still married this dude, but it seems like he's changed for the best and all that. So congratulations to them for moving past that. But nah, like dog, like you knock my sister out or my daughter, whoever, like me and the other family member, we jump in your ass. Fuck all that. You ain't gonna get a chance to marry her because we gonna fuck you up, dog. So while they never found Favre guilty of violating the league's personal conduct policy, even though they had fucking video evidence, which is, letting people get away with shit like this feels like that makes them entitled and feel like, oh, I could just get away with anything. So that's probably why he ended up doing this fucking welfare fraud shit. But these motherfuckers be thinking that they above the law because they got bread. They did fine him $50,000 for failing to cooperate with the investigation. So they fined him $50,000, but didn't find him guilty, even though he was sending pictures of his dick. That's wild. NFL, like I said, they don't give a fuck. Like if it's violations towards women or anything like that, NFL don't give a fuck. That's one thing I don't like about the NFL, and I'm a huge NFL fan. But domestic violence, like all that shit, like they don't give a fuck about women. And it's fucking crazy. Like you can beat up a chick and get like a 2-game suspension, but if there's video evidence, then you won't get blackballed. Upon reflection of her tweet, Sturger opened up with another message posted on Twitter. To think my legacy and everything anyone knows of me can be summed down to the title of The Brett Farve Girl is not only disgusting but disheartening. She penned, to think all of the jobs that people have gatekept from me that I was a shoo-in for simply because having access to him, his interviews, his quote-unquote legacy and stardom was more important than any kind of reparations I was due. The media played a sick and twisted role painting me as a bad guy simply because I looked a certain way. And none of them has printed a retraction, though some like NFL.com have deleted articles, but the search engine sheets that show that they are still somewhere in the system. So, or the big conglomerate PR companies like Sunshine Sachs that launched a nasty attack on me and my character on behalf of the Jets. 28-year-old me didn't stand a chance. Humans are complicated, flawed human beings, and bad people do bad things. But the truth is, I forgave Brett Farve a long time ago for what he did to me. It cost me my job simply because I didn't want to sleep with him. I forgave the NFL. I forgave the media, but it was the hardest thing ever. It was the hardest thing I ever did. Forgiving people that never deserved it, alone even being asked for it. So in the loophole, Brett Favre is a piece of shit. Like he's been a piece of shit. Like he's been a piece of shit like since then. So why are we surprised that he's doing this shit now? It's not surprising to me. But uh, hopefully Brett Favre gets what he deserves, and which is some prison time. Meanwhile, people in Mississippi are going daily without clean water, and people are going without the bare necessities, but they're out here doing misappropriate things with fucking $77 million. So, but that's the country that we live in a nutshell. Like they don't want to help people. You either got to be like top 1%, or you got to be like the bottom 1% or whatever to actually get government assistance. Anywhere in between is fuck off. You got to fend for yourself, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and shit. But most of these people who say that already came from money anyway, or if they did quote unquote get it out the mud, they had friends in rich places that actually helped them and helped them dodge tax loops and all that stuff, like just so they can make more money and things of that nature. So that's the country that we live in. Brett Favre and the people who were his cohorts, they're just another prime example of what the fuck's been going on in this country for fucking years. So fuck Brett Favre, fuck these other motherfuckers that are stealing from the other people. And if you're still a Brett Favre supporter, fuck you too. That's all I gotta say about that. Peace, motherfucker.